Hello and welcome back to the Exist Better YouTube channel. Today I'm doing what I've been saying I'm gonna do, which is filming my critique of Jordan Peterson's style of psychology. Basically, I'm gonna talk about what is the core element that I think is missing from this style of personal development, self-help stuff. And if you're familiar with a lot of my past videos, you're probably not going to be surprised at what my answer is, but I'm going to go into more detail. I want to start off by saying that this really isn't coming from a place of me being super triggered or offended by anything that he has said. For the record, he definitely did say that 30-year-old women without children are psychologically unwell, which is me. But I've put that in the past. I've put that behind me so that I can do this critique video without any emotions involved, which is very Jordan Peterson style. I've thought a lot about this, and someone introduced me to Jordan Peterson a couple of years ago, and so I've been like vaguely aware of him and his teachings ever since then. And people bring him up to me a lot, and so that's why I decided to finally just come out and do a video. So yeah, I actually tend to really enjoy his perspectives. I've seen a few interviews with him, and I think he is really bringing a perspective that is very important. My take on why he is so popular is, like I said, this whole thing he's bringing forward about like personal responsibility, very important, very needed, especially for my particular generation. He's non-reactive. He debates. And that is like a lost art right now, because everyone is so reactive and in their pain constantly, just the nature of the times right now, that to see someone who can debate and be really good at it and, assert their perspectives and their points and have facts and logic to back it up, it's actually kind of rare. It's like a rare character traits to have right now. So I think that's why he's so popular. Also, like, our very mental society loves that stuff. All these frankly, it tends to be men who like diehard Jordan Peterson fans. They love that this guy can come in and like destroy people's emotion-based perspectives with facts and logic. Like, that is like a dream come true for a lot of people who can't articulate themselves as well, but they like agree with everything Jordan Peterson is saying. So he's like a hero to all these people. So let's get into the critique. What is the problem? So Jordan Peterson started out as a psychologist or psychiatrist. I think he went to medical school, if I'm not mistaken. So he comes from this mental health background, right? He's helping people. He's working one-on-one with clients to help them with their life, with their emotions, with all of these really vulnerable, subjective things. And the interesting thing about Jordan Peterson, if you're familiar with Myers-Briggs psychology, and if you're not, just try to stay with me. Jordan Peterson brings forward this extroverted thinking mentality. So extroverted thinking is basically like, it's very executive, it's very streamlined, and it's like, here's what you need to do, here's why you do it. Feelings are like completely irrelevant. So he brings that it's called extroverted thinking, energy, or perspective, which is very valuable in a lot of situations. But it's interesting when you bring it into a mental health setting, because most people who are having like these big things like panic, depression, like all these deep, dark emotional issues, and you bring this extroverted thinking way of giving advice, it's not at all what people need. Like, not at all. This is why there's a whole big group of people who are just like, I hate Jordan Peterson. He's the worst person ever. Like, I hope he, it's like for as many diehard fans he has as many people who hate his guts. He's very polarizing. And it's because he's bringing that perspective into the mental health realm. And what that does, long story short, is it brings up shame in people. So when someone says, I'm having like these emotional issues, like I can't get out of bed, what they need first is a very, like, they call it like a trauma-informed response. So like kind of what I talk about on this channel, like totally validating your emotions, practicing compassion for everything that's happening to you, assuming it's happening for a reason, learning about the nervous system responses to trauma. And this is a feminine approach, okay? Jordan Peterson's extroverted thinking is a masculine approach. So in my experience, if you're having emotional issues, you need to, for a lot of people, especially for sensitive people, you need to first come at that problem from a feminine, trauma-informed perspective, because that's what we're dealing with here with people. No matter how, it's all on the trauma scale, no matter how severe or typical it is. So Jordan Peterson doesn't seem to do that. He seems to come right in with this masculine approach. The problem is that what this does is that it takes all the people who don't want to do any of the trauma stuff, any of the feminine like healing work. They don't want to do all that. They're not really interested. And so they see this masculine approach and they're like, oh, yay, let's keep avoiding it. And then we can keep demonizing the people who are stuck in the opposite problem, right? AKA, these younger, typically millennial, liberal-minded people. This is why Jordan Peterson really detests people on the left, because they have this, a lot of times they have this excessive feminine, not enough masculine, so they're not taking responsibility for themselves and all that stuff. Meanwhile, we have people on the Jordan Peterson side of things, and they have the opposite shadow. So they are not really down with the touchy-feely stuff. They don't really see any value there. They don't want to go there. And so that's what keeps them stunted. Both sides are stunted. If you pick either masculine or feminine, you're going to be stunted. You need both. Interestingly, as Jordan Peterson has gotten more famous, he is seemingly hyper obsessed, like hyper zoned in on, liberal universities, like younger people who are like, what do they call them? Social justice warriors or whatever. It's like a hilarious term, but social justice, those types of people. He's so zoomed in on them, and he can't stop critiquing and explaining all the ways that they're wrong. And I personally have even seen him get really triggered and like combative about it. And it's rare to see that, because he's the non-reactive guy, right? He's the smart guy who's like above all that stuff. And the reason these people are triggering him and pulling him, in this direction where he's just always focused on one thing, is that they represent his shadow. People on the Jordan Peterson diehard side of things, they are so anti-victim mentality that it actually prevents them from healing. And this is what I talked about in the Liberal and Conservative Shadows Explained video, where It's the conservative shadow. This is why people on the left are always calling Jordan Peterson like a crazy right-wing guy, and like a conservative, like a, they're calling him like a fanatical type of guy, and he's really not. He's not like this politically conservative guy necessarily, but he has that shadow. He has the same shadow, and it's this anti-victim shadow. So, long story short here, my critique of Jordan Peterson's style of psychology is that it's not a Jungian style completely. I think there are definitely bits and pieces of what he says, for sure, that are Jungian, as far as like taking responsibility for yourself, like your own blind spots and stuff. But ironically, it's interesting because he does not seem to be doing that. As far as I'm aware, a lot of the information that's been coming out recently, he's always doing he seems to be disintegrating. For example, all these people on the left, they tend to be vegans and they love animals and the environment, and they eat that way. Now Jordan Peterson is suddenly pushing everyone, like very vocal about this diet where he eats I think it's like nothing but like beef or something. And you see how he keeps taking the opposite approach, where it's like, here's what the feminine, more feminine energy people are doing. I'm the masculine, I'm going to do the opposite, right? And the people that hate him are like, we can't stand that masculine stuff. We're going to stay over here and do the opposite. But it's like no one's integrating, himself included. This is just my perspective. I could be wrong, I'm sure there's things that I don't see in the situation. I'm sure he may be doing things. However, what really drove this home for me is that I saw an interview. I stumbled upon this interview with him from years ago. It was very old. And, the interviewer, I didn't even know about any of this. The interviewer is asking him about his lifelong battle with depression. And, he point blank asked him, have you ever sought therapy for this? And Jordan Peterson said, no. And I was like, wait a minute, rewind. And I played it again. And I was like, did I hear the question right? Was everything? And that, he basically admitted that he had never done talk therapy for his severe depression. He's very vocal about it. Severe depression. He blatantly said, he takes medication so that he can cope, and he expects to do that for the rest of his life. To me, this is mind-blowing. And if you watch a lot of my content, read my blogs and stuff, I probably sound like a broken record with this stuff, but it's this unwillingness to integrate the feminine. It's this pattern that's permeating so much of society. Even the experts, even the people who have it all figured out, they're just masculine it is. There's nothing else. Groups of people with the same shadow tend to hang out together, confirm each other's beliefs, validate each other's perspective, and then they put up a wall whenever anyone else approaches with anything else to say. And yeah, so that's kind of why we have these big, massive divisions between big groups of people saying I think this, and the other people are I think the opposite. And anyone who's done a good amount of shadow work just looks at both of them and goes, both of those things are true. I can't believe this is an argument that's happening, because both of these perspectives have merit and are true at different times in different ways. When you're in the mind, right? Masculine, more mental energy, you don't really go into your heart very much. You're not, people in spiritual realm, they talk about being heart-centered. That's kind of gibberish for most people. They've never experienced that connection with the intuition. The last thing I'll say is that in my belief, this is just my opinion, when you have this more, this shadow that I would ascribe to like more conservative minded people, they're typically more like masculine people overall. This is very general, very big picture stuff here. Jordan Peterson did say we should go back to mandating marriage or something. Like, he's a conservative minded person. And the issue that came up around, that made him famous around, what was it? Like trans people being called the correct pronouns. We can say, he's good because he's got all of the logical arguments that shield him from any of the emotional reasons that he's involved in these arguments. But when you have that shadow that I was talking about, you typically may have some issues around loss of control. And again, extra-rated thinking, right? Everything's a binary. Everything's black and white. Everything's yes or no, X or Y, up is up, down is down. And anything else is nonsense. We just haven't figured, like everything else is just, you're probably wrong, right? So we have these people coming in and saying like, this is my pronoun, I'm changing it. Like, I'm not this identity, I'm this one. It shakes up their whole worldview. I feel like I could just go on and on about this because it's the kind of thing that, there's a lot of ins and a lot of outs. But let's just keep it at that because I don't want to do this like crazy long video. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube, check out the newsletter, check out the website. I actually just like redesigned the website so that it's a little bit more coherent. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a lot out of it. Again, I am just one person with a subjective perspective. I just wanted to share this other side of things that I think doesn't really get enough airtime in my experience. So yeah, I respect Jordan Peterson a lot. I think he's a very intelligent, capable person, but just like any of us, has a shadow and has blind spots.